Okay, it's possible that this was the first video that you've run into in this series of videos and you don't really understand what's going on here. Very quick little overview of what I'm doing. I'm building a fish room behind me, and that fish room is going to be for selling fish on our website, keepfishkeeping.com. And it's been an adventure, a rather eventful adventure. And I have, if I'm being honest, not been enjoying the process at all. And this is something I usually love doing, but it's been one disaster, one nightmare, one overwhelming challenge after another. And this week is no different. This week is just piling on like you wouldn't even believe. And Jasper even knows it. He's trying to make me feel better. Come on. I've had a lot of comments over the last several weeks where people have praised me for being fully transparent about this project and talking about all the things that are positive, the things that are negative, the challenges that I've been faced with and all of that. And they've been praising me for being open about that and not just showing you what I want you to see. The reality is, I am that way. I mean, that's just how I've always been. But also, if I wasn't showing you the things that have been going on this week that have been, or this last couple of months that have been challenging to me, I wouldn't have a whole lot to show you because it's been one unbelievable challenge after the other. And so I'm glad that people see it that way. There's been a lot of comments of like, most YouTubers hide all of the bad things and all that. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think everybody is open to sharing the challenges that they've had as well as showing the successes. I think maybe I just expand on the negatives a little bit more. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it just bothers me more than it bothers others. I don't know, but that is the way I am. And I got to be honest, I don't want to be that way. I don't want every week to be coming to you and saying, well, here's the S show that's happened this week. I want to be able to say, wow, look how amazing everything is. Look what I've done. Isn't this incredible? But it just hasn't been working out that way. And it's unfortunate. And if I'm being honest with you, it's pushed me to my absolute limit. I told Lisa this morning, I am ready to break. And that's not good. It's not good at all. I thought everything was good to go. And then, no, it wasn't. And that's what I'm going to share with you here today. But let's talk about a positive that, yeah, it's a positive. So here's the thing. I guess Jasper is just going to sit here. I don't even know if you can see him on camera. I hope you can. Here's the thing. Last week, I talked about the drain situation that I had in this barn, getting the water out. We're setting up a water changing system that's going to be flowing water to all of the tanks, not all at the same time, but different sections of the barn. It's going to flow water to those. That water is going to mix in with the water that's already in the aquarium. And then, of course, that's going to make it overflow through the bulkheads that I've been drilling. Still haven't broke a tank, by the way. And that water is going to have to go somewhere. And so, obviously, we want that water to go out of the building. And that's what I started working on last week. I installed all of the drains behind the racks, but I needed to actually take it out of the building. Quick overview of what happened in last week's video. I went to drill the hole through the very small wall at the back corner of my barn to take the 3-inch pipe out of that wall underneath the floor of our second floor over here. I hope this isn't too confusing, and out of the building. When I cut that hole, I realized, there was a massive beam right behind that hole, which made it near impossible to take that pipe out of the building that way. So I came up with what I thought was a great solution. I installed a 27-gallon tub right there in the corner, ran the drain lines to it, and then put a sump pump in there to send the water out of the building. And that's where we left off last week. I didn't do anything after that. I just physically put the sump pump in the tub, and that was it. Well, this week started off with running that exhaust line from the sump out of the building. And I did that without a hitch. Went very smoothly. I didn't run into any concrete barriers to leave the building or anything like that. I sent that 1.5 PVC out of the building, no problems at all. Everything's going well. I was in a great mood. I grabbed a 5-gallon bucket because this entire thing was all set to go, and filled that 5-gallon bucket up with water. When I did that, Lisa grabbed the camera because what we wanted to do was show this system in action, show it functioning for the very first time. And the idea was I would dump a 5-gallon bucket into there, it would suck that water out of that tub, send it out of the building, and I would say, see, I told you this would work. But it didn't go that way. Believe it or not, this is not the worst part of this story. This story has a lot of twists and turns. But first of all, I put 5 gallons in there. That wasn't enough. I didn't freak out over that. I put another 5 gallons in there, and it still didn't come on. And this is where we ran into this biggest problem here that took this project in a completely different direction, or that part of the project in a completely different direction. So if you're not aware of how a sump pump works, I'm not an expert in sump pumps, but there's a float switch, just like you have in your toilet, that is on the sump pump. And when that float switch floats up, it activates the pump and sends all of the water out and drains it down to a certain level. What I thought the entire time I've been working on this aspect of the project, I thought that the float switch was adjustable, meaning I could have it activate when the water was at a very low level. So basically, water starts to enter into that tub, it immediately starts getting sucked out. Life is good. That's exactly how I wanted the system to work. I did not realize that the float switch, at least on the sump that I bought, was not adjustable. I didn't realize it until I got it installed. And let me just give a little side note here. I mentioned in last week's video that I was going to put a second sump pump in that tub for redundancy in case the first one failed, but we didn't have the money in the budget to be able to do that. Joe Provenzano, longtime, very loyal follower of this channel, would not hear that. And he said, you know what? I'm going to take care of that for you. So he actually sent us the money by way of PayPal to get that second sump pump. I got to tell you, Joe, you're a madman. You're a crazy person. But I thank you so much for that. But that money is going to have to be sent back because it didn't work. The float switch is not adjustable. The sump would not do what it was supposed to do. It would have worked perfectly if I didn't have to drill the pipes into the side of that tub. If I could have just had the pipes roll over the top of that tub, it would have worked perfectly. But because of the way the drains were installed from the very beginning, I would have had to have gone through and raised all of the drains up by like 10 inches. And that would have meant that I also would have needed to raise the racks up because the bottom tanks would have been too low to go into those drains. So the entire system, including the snail room, would have had to have been rebuilt and basically put on stilts to raise it up high enough to do that. So obviously I was in not a good mood when this happened. But I said, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I went on the old Google machine and I got the AI results saying, yes, there are sump pumps that are adjustable as far as the float switch goes. And so I said, perfect. I'm just going to take this one back and I'm going to buy two, one with Joe Provenzano's money and the second with my money. I'm going to buy two to replace the one, and I'm going to buy one that has an adjustable float switch on it. Went back to Lowe's, 45-minute drive, after disconnecting everything and drying it off to make it look like I had never used it. Lowe's had no problem taking that first one back. They were very easy to deal with. I didn't even have a receipt. They just looked up my card, which was great. Love Lowe's. They're the best. And went to their section where they sell sump pumps, and they did not have any that had adjustable float switches. All of them, including the one that I had originally bought, actually say right there on the box at what level the water needs to be for the sump pump to activate. And they were all way too high for the system that I installed. Again, if the pipes were raised up to the top of that tub, it would have been fine. But because they were down only about 6 inches off of the ground, it was just going to be too high. And I didn't trust the silicone that I had put in there to hold those pipes in and all of that, to seal them off. I didn't trust that if they were constantly going to be submerged in the water. I didn't like that scenario at all. So I'm standing in Lowe's, and thankfully nobody was anywhere near me. I'm sitting there looking at it, and I just went, fuck! It was very loud, and there's no doubt somebody had to have heard me do it, because I realized this is just not going to work, this whole system that I had put in. In theory, it should have worked fine, but it's not going to work in reality. So I left the store without buying anything, and I started heading home. And on my way home from Lowe's, I made the decision, all right, I'm just going to do what I did not want to do in the beginning. I'm just going to drill through that beam. I don't like it, but I was being dramatic in last week's video when I said the building's going to come crashing down if I do that. It's obviously not. That's what I'm going to have to do. I have no choice at this point. If I want to get this system up and running, that's what I have to do. I used voice to text. Don't worry, I didn't text while driving. Well, technically I did, but I wasn't typing on my phone while I was driving. And I told Lisa, I said, F it. I'm going to drill through that beam. There's no other way of doing it. This is my only option. This is what I'm going to do. And she said, okay. So I came home and I started the process of drilling through that beam. And then I got a bit of good news. It was the first bit of good news I've had in a very long time. When I actually enlarged the hole that I had originally put in that side wall, I realized that where I had cut my original hole that I wanted to run those drains through, Gerald, what are you doing? When I had cut that hole, I was actually looking at the very top of the beam. And where the drains are now, because I had raised them up to get this whole sump pump thing to work, is perfectly level with the top of that beam. So I didn't have to cut the beam at all. Wow! Finally, I get some good news. I think I actually have footage of me discovering this while I was cutting that hole. So life is good. This is great. The best news ever. Kinda. I did end up notching the top of that beam ever so slightly, about 1/2 of an inch. I'm not concerned about that at all. And I did that so that I could have my slope and so that I wouldn't have to raise the drains up another 1/2 of an inch. That went very smoothly and everything was great. But it wasn't the case when we get to the exterior wall of the building. Now, I don't have any footage of this because I was just over it at this point. But where the pipe exits the building, there is another beam. This building is built on top of railroad ties, basically. And so it was sitting on one of those beams. So on the exterior wall, I did have to drill through that beam. And it took about 3 hours to do it. I went through like 12 batteries because basically the way I had to do it is use a hole saw, a 4-inch hole saw, to cut through, which wasn't very easy because I wasn't drilling straight through it. I was only basically cutting a big notch in the top. So I had to drill through to the depth of the drill bit, then chisel out the core. If you've used a hole saw, you know what that means. And then once that was chiseled out, then drill it in a little bit more. My drill would only go so far, so I had to stick an extension on there, and I had to keep doing that over and over and over again, boring it out, using the chisel to chisel out the core, and then go a little farther and a little farther. And this is all about 6 inches off of the ground, and it's sandy and it's dusty and it's a miserable experience. It was pouring down rain outside. Thankfully, this is under the lean-to, so I wasn't getting rained on, but it was wet, and it was just, what a horrible experience. When I finally made it through and I stuck the PVC pipe through the hole, I said, Lisa, I am done for the day. And she said, I don't blame you. So I got that done. The next day, which would have been Thursday, this is yesterday. I'm recording this on Friday, uploading it on Sunday. So this is all happening in real time. Not real time, but you know what I'm saying. It's all this week. Thursday, I got out here. I hooked up the drains that are in here. I had to cut them out and hook them up with clean outs, whatever you call those socket things. Hooked everything up, and it looks beautiful. Everything is sloped. It's great. I put in some little wood pieces to kind of patch the holes, used the expandable foam to fill in the gaps on the inside and on the outside. The drain situation is done, and I could not be happier. This was a good day. This was a huge victory for me. I was moving forward, and it was great. But there's a couple of things that kept me from being overly excited about this whole thing. First is Gemco. I was not able to get a hold of them on Monday. Mondays are their craziest days, just like they are for us. I left them a message. I wasn't able to actually contact them until Tuesday. I'm not mad at Gemco over this. They were fantastic through this whole process. It was great. That's going to happen behind us, and there's just nothing that I'm going to be able to do about it. That's what happens when you have cats. Hopefully the situation that you're seeing behind me is not too disturbing. But anyway, I wasn't able to get the airline that we talked about last week ordered until Tuesday. But when I talked to Jean over at Gemco and I told her the situation, asked her, you know, do you think you could do me the favor of shipping it out today? That way I get it on Thursday. She said, no problem. Of course we would. That's no big deal. And they did just that. And I did get it on Thursday, which was yesterday. But I didn't get it until like 5:30 in the afternoon. Not Gemco's fault. That's on UPS, and that's fine. We have it here. It's ready to go. But yesterday morning, while I was waiting for that airline to show up, I was working on other things. And one of the things that I thought would be smart to do was hook up the controller for the irrigation system that we're using for the water changing system. And that didn't go well. I had originally bought a Rainbird system. I ordered it off of my least favorite website in the world because it's off season. The hardware stores don't have these right now to where you can just go and pick them up. There's a Lowe's that has one, but it was like 2.5 hours away from me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I ordered it off of Amazon. It came in quickly, and for Amazon standards anymore, it came in, whatever. This was like 3 months ago that I ordered that. Showed it in a previous video when I originally set up that system. I hung it on the wall, got it all ready, but I never plugged it in because I didn't need to. I wasn't going to be using it yet. And I got it moved over to its more permanent location, and then I plugged it in, and it was dead. Completely stone cold dead. I said, well, I must have wired it wrong. I didn't. I swapped out the wiring to hook up the power for that system. It doesn't matter which one you put, red on the right, red on the left, it doesn't matter. You just put them in there and they're good to go. I did it actually red on the right, black on the left, because that's what the Rainbird website had. So should have been the right way of doing it. Nothing, dead. So I took my little voltmeter, just the little portable ones that you just touch on something and it tells you whether there's a current in there or not. The plug is good. The plug is hot. I even plugged other things into it, but it's not delivering power to the Rainbird controller unit, clock, whatever you want to call it. And I realized, I don't even know if I have footage of this, but the adapter that plugs into the wall for the Rainbird controller has a little red light on it, which I would assume would illuminate when there's power going to it. That light never came on. Plug it into the wall. I even touched the other end of the power wire to see if there was power there, and there was nothing. So this AC adapter was obviously faulty, because of course it is. Everything that I've gone to install in this system has been faulty. Mini split, water heater. We haven't even talked about the water heater. There's like some kind of little thermostatic control fuse thing on the water heater that keeps popping all the time. It's part of my normal routine now, where I have to come in here and I have to make sure that that is reset. If I don't, the water heater is not going to have any hot water in it. It's so frustrating. Everything I've used in this entire system is not working. People have asked about the mini split. No, it's still not working efficiently. It works, but not nearly as good as it should. Everything has been broken in this system so far. And I contacted Amazon through their chat system, and they gave me this long spiel of, well, you're going to have to reach out to the manufacturer because it's been 3 months since you ordered it, or 2 months. I don't know. It's been a while. You're going to have to reach out to Rainbird. You're going to have to send them all these documentations and videos and photos and fill out all of these forms, and maybe they will grant your warranty claim and they'll send you a new one, or send you a new AC adapter or whatever. And I said, listen, I don't have time for all of that. Instead, can I just return this? Well, it's been so long, it's past the window. Let me see if I can get an exception. And to Amazon's credit, they did. They said, yes, since you've had not used it yet and it is faulty, yes, you can return it. So I immediately boxed that sumbitch up and gave it to UPS when they came to pick up all of our other orders today. I got an immediate credit from Amazon for that, which I'm delighted with, that they were willing to do that. So what I've done now is I've ordered from Lowe's.com a replacement controller for the irrigation system. So since I could not hook that up, and since I did not get my airline until yesterday at 5:30 in the afternoon, again, not anybody's fault. It is what it is. A lot of work has been done here, but it's not really anything that you can see, because I did not have what I needed to have to get this up and running. So at least I got the drains installed though. Now I got to tell you, this is just me being brutally honest with you. I'm going to go very personal here. If you want to tune out at this point, I understand. I'm at my limit. I really am. I have never been involved in a project in my life where everything has gone wrong. There has not been an enjoyable part of this entire process. It has been absolutely miserable. Everything has gone wrong. Water heater, mini split, racks needing to be raised up 6 inches just so they can sit level, drains needing to spend a week and a half dicking around with these drains to get them out of the building, finally get that straight, only to uncover the next problem. The irrigation system isn't working. I haven't even plugged the air pump in yet, but let me tell you something, with my luck, I'm going to get everything set up next week, and I'm going to go plug that air pump in, and it's probably not going to be working either. Not because it's a bad unit, or, well, I guess at that point it would be, but not because it's not a good unit, but just because that's the luck that I'm having with this system. And you wonder why I'm not building this center section yet. I just don't know mentally if I can take it. Physically, sure, it's no problem. I can do the work, it's fine. But mentally, I'm out. I really am. I'm at my wit's end. And I've never been pushed this far in my life. I can tolerate a lot. You have to work really, really hard to get my pot to boil over. But my pot done boiled over with this project. I got to tell you, it is, it's pushed me to my absolute limits. Thankfully, I got a few days off from it. Not really by choice, but it's just life. My grandson's having a birthday party tomorrow in Virginia. I made him a Superman. I didn't make him a Superman. I made him a Spider-Man, 3D Spider-Man statue. Maybe I'll show it to you here. I'm real proud of it. It looks really good. And I made that for him. I'm going to give that to him for his birthday tomorrow, along with other things. I don't know how a 7-year-old is going to react to, oh, that's the coolest or why do I keep saying Superman? That's the coolest Spider-Man, but I can't play with it? I have to put it on the shelf? Like, that's not cool. I don't know how he's going to react to that, but he'll appreciate that when he's an adult. He'll appreciate it now, but he'll appreciate it more then. So that's going to be fun tomorrow. I also made a Superman for my nephew. That's why I keep saying Superman. And I'm going to give that to him tomorrow too. So tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. Sunday, Lisa and I are going to be working in the cat area. Mondays, I don't work in the fish room. Tuesdays, I'm going to be with Jason Adams recording the Tank Talk podcast. So I have a few days to just not work on this and maybe let my brain reset. If I'm being honest, I don't like that because I want to get this damn thing done. And these things are going to be holding me back from that, but that's okay because I feel like at this point, I need to do that. I need to take a break from it. Even if it's just a few days, I need to do that for my sanity. So that's what's going to happen. Hopefully next week, I'll be able to show you a fully functioning fish room, which I was supposed to show you last week and still haven't been able to do that. And then it's just going to be a matter of getting this thing to come to life and get some fish in here. It'll be very cool. By the way, Amazon, I'm getting ready to film a video all about Amazon. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be a bonus video this week. Jasper is messing around, and hopefully it's not shaking the camera too much. Amazon was going to take 7 days to ship me another irrigation controller. Lowe's.com said it'll be here Monday. So Lowe's is still doing it right. I've ordered several things from Lowe's, and it's always worked out really well. So hopefully that shows up on Monday, and I can install it on Wednesday and do all the things. Lisa's going to help me with all the airlines in the snail room too. So, you know, this side here is all completely done. It's ready for water. Snail room has to get buttoned up, and then I'll turn the system on and find what's wrong then. Something will go wrong then. I am anticipating, not because I'm not good at this, but just because there's so many plumbing pipes running around, so many joints, so many this, so many that. I'm expecting a leak or two, or 12 or 96, I don't know. Hopefully not. Nothing would make me happier than to turn this system on and there's not a leak to be found, but I'm expecting there probably will be some. And that's okay. I'm not going to freak out over that because that's me, you know, going through this system and not doing it perfectly, even though I tried to do it perfectly. You know, sometimes you miss something or the little glue doesn't get on it or whatever. I'm not going to freak out over that. That's not going to set me over the edge. It's when equipment doesn't do what it's supposed to do and it's brand new out of the box, like the mini split, like the irrigation system, like the water heater, like everything else I've bought. That's when it sets me over the edge. But anyway, hopefully next week there will be progress, and that'll be a good thing. So I'm going to turn the camera off now, and I'm going to start it right back up again, and I'm going to film a video about a scam that's being run on Amazon that involves me. So you didn't see that. It was a bonus video. It uploaded yesterday. At least that's my plan as of right now. I'm going to be uploading that video on Saturday as a bonus video, and then you're watching this on Sunday. So if you missed that one, go back and watch it, because I'm going to have a whole lot of fun things to say about that. But anyway, welcome to my nightmare. Hopefully next week it is not such a nightmare. Bye.